Welcome to the second ever episode of the Stars of Stadia, the show where I interview a well-known Google Stadia content creator while we play a leisurely game of their choice. Think of it as carpool karaoke for gamers. I'm really pleased that my guest on Stars of Stadia today is none other than Stadia royalty, my very good friend and erstwhile co-host, Clive Illenden, aka Lord Kensal. Now, because Clive has a fascinating backstory, this pre-recorded interview spanned almost 3 hours and has been split into 2 episodes, the second of which will premiere next week at the same time. Hey, Clive! Thanks for joining today.
Hello!
This is the second ever, only the second ever episode of Stars of Stadia. You may or may not remember, because I think I did have you lined up for a guest slot when I first did the series last year or year before, but I only got as far as Ray. It burnt me out. It was
like a C-list celebrity. I kept getting bumped.
I know,
it was
terrible.
The chat show.
It was most embarrassing. I mean, fancy treating an A-lister like yourself that way. This is, you know the format. This is essentially karaoke carpool for gamers. And of course, you're going to make my life really easy because you've got a million stories. And over the years, we've been through them all backwards and forwards, but I'm sure there's still many, many more that I've not heard, and I'm really looking forward to this. So you've chosen Destiny as your game of choice. A very popular
Well, everyone knows it, don't they? You know, Destiny 2. And in a way, it's kind of where it all began in terms of, not sort of Stadia, really, for many people. Their first experience was with Destiny. But I was just saying to you earlier, wasn't I, that I've not played it in such a long time that I've opened it, and it's so different that I was totally confused, just like I was when I first played it before Stadia. You know, like I don't know where to go, what I'm doing, didn't make any sense, help. You know, and you'd spent years sort of get to the point where, no, I know I'm doing now. I'm pretty confident where to go, how to do it. And then it's like back to square one again, because it's the story's gone on and developed, and you know, towers have been destroyed and planets have been destroyed and so many things you've got to pay for, and of course it's gone free to play now. So now I feel like a complete noob.
They don't make it easy, to be fair. It's going to be interesting to see what happens once the full sale has taken place with Sony. I know they've talked about making it one of 4 or 5 big live games, which it kind of is anyway, but I suspect they're going to be investing more, and you know, they've got to tidy it up, because it is intimidating for new people for sure, and it's a shame.
I liked it when they when Destiny 2 first came out, it had a nice little story intro. It was really exciting, and you thought, this is brilliant, I'm on a campaign, and then it sort of gets very confusing after that, and then you have to learn, you've got to go and see Anne in the in the garage, whatever, and she'll give you your first story mission and stuff like that. I like to be handheld with my stories. You know,
no, it's fair enough.
Through, you know, like Lara Croft or something.
That stuff is still there, but you've got to buy the seasons and things.
Yeah.
So if you just play the free to play, they basically give you the experience of Destiny, but without the taste of sausage. I guess there's a potential analogy in there. But listen, enough of Destiny. They can sell themselves, as they do very well. I'm really keen to go. I want to find out loads about you, and I know obviously anyone watching this will have a bit of an idea. You know, occasionally you've mentioned what you do for a living and stuff. And when we've done shows together, we've had glimpses of you and your modelling days, which will no doubt come to.
There was no modelling, I don't think.
Well, there was a bit of dancing. I mean,
dancing,
you know, in not so much catwalk stuff, but you were definitely a gunfire. But let's go right back to the beginning. So, without giving away your actual
dirty dancer,
without telling folks,
dancer for money.
You don't. Yes, well, you were, but although I see myself as your big brother.
Yes.
There's a little bit more air between us than that. So you were born in the 60s. Do you have any memories of the 60s?
Not the 60s. No, it's funny. I was born in North London, But then, like when I was about 2, moved to Hertfordshire, Hitchin in Hertfordshire, and that's my first memory really of living there. I've no memory.
What sort of time frame are we talking?
So I get like it must have been like 70.
Oh, okay.
1970.
Well, you were only what, 4?
Yeah,
4?
two or 3 or so. I'd have no. So obviously, I have no idea. Before
Well, 4's pretty young to have a first memory. I mean, I'm sure mine don't go back much before there. And so
my earliest memory, I could tell you, like one of my earliest memories, right, was falling off a slide.
Oh no, traumatic.
And I was trying to, like when you're at nursery school, you got people going down the slide on their bum, easy, yeah. Oh no, there's some smart Alec boy. He's going down on his belly, easy. I've got to up the level here. You know me, I can't be doing what other people do. I need to take it to the next level, even at the age of 3 or 4, or whatever. So I thought, I know that I'll down on my back, but backwards.
Oh.
And I fell off the top of the slide.
Yeah, that was always going to happen.
On my head. And so, so then, so I just have vague memories of then I have vague memories of being in the hospital, and then sort of them hitting me with a hammer.
Really?
Yeah, but of course, they were taking, doing the reflex thing.
On your head?
Yeah, well, no, so like a slightly confused memory.
Yes, exactly.
In my memory, it's on the head, but I think in reality, they were hitting my knee or something.
Checking your knee out.
I was dazed, and what I didn't realize at the time wasn't until years later in my teens, right, when I had a sort of proper short back and sides. I had a Peaky Blinders cut before Peaky Blinders. Well, they obviously existed, but before the TV series, years before, like, in the 80s when everyone had floppy fringes, I went super short, not quite full on crew cut, but super short, shorter than you would meant to go, Yeah. And anyway, the point is, it revealed a little patch at the back of my head. And I kind of thought, why is there a little patch at the back of my head? What's that? And my sister or my mum said, oh, yeah, that's where you had stitches when you fell off the slide when you were 2 or 3, whatever. And I thought, I had no idea.
Wow.
No idea. So I didn't find that out until in my teens when I had a short back and sides.
Wow. So it's probably quite a height then that you fell.
For a little toddler.
Yeah, well, enough to
Yeah, probably, 7, 8 foot.
Wow.
Which, relative to the size.
Yeah, right. That would be like me dropping, or you and I dropping 12 feet or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, you're at that age, as got kids now, you find out that actually they're quite bouncy.
Yeah. That was, it's always a shame your oldest memory is traumatic. I would loved it for you to have said, I remember the summers and, we used to go down to the sea.
It wasn't traumatic. It's just weird. The only other memory I have I just remember that, like, where we lived, it was like an estate, like a sort of a modern suburb estate, sort of nice houses and stuff, but in a nice sort of what we used to call a spinney, a circle, like a cul-de-sac circle. And I just remember all the other kids, all of different ages. And then I had two sisters. Yeah. They were older than me, and they had friends who were similar their age. I had friends my age. I think I was one of the youngest in there, and just hanging out with them and stuff like that. And I remember some kid's garage, and in his garage he had an old gramophone record player, like a wind-up one that played 78s. Now anybody under the age of 30, what?
Exactly.
Like one, like his master's voice.
Yeah.
With a big, it was like that with the big foghorn speaker.
Yeah, with the dog.
So it's completely mechanical. Yeah. I just remember that, and then the other thing I remember, same time, was watching some kid who was into one of the older kids, who was a friend of my sister, who was older. Was really into like kites and airplane, remote control airplanes and stuff. And I remember he had this kite and he was really proud of it. And there was a field near our houses, and he was flying this kite, and then he accidentally let go of the string, and then and he was like devastated, and the kite maintained the same height, but it went horizontally at speed across the field, and all I remember is this kid screaming, going no, and running across the field trying to catch this dangly string. And even at the age of, I don't know, 4, 5 or 6, I thought it was absolutely hilarious. Schadenfreude. These are all telltales. You know, like I you know, a low tolerance level for stupidity. Anybody who watches my show will know.
Exactly.
You know, perhaps a bit. Yeah, it was like, no, come back.
I'm interested that your 2 older sisters, did they mother you? Did you kind of get that?
Yeah. I was obviously spoiled by them, so it's good.
And it must have been lovely when their friends of the same age came over and dressed you up in makeup and Barbie doll clothes and stuff.
They dressed me up. I remember there's a picture of me when we moved to the Midlands.
Yeah.
And I think like 6 or 7, there's a picture of me all dragged up in full dress. And I'm camping it up even at 7, you know, playing the role of sort of an old lady. You know, because they dressed me in a sort of a dress and a hat, and
But that's what I mean. I never had
makeup. Exactly.
I didn't have the benefit.
I did the same with my son. You know.
Well, yeah. You know,
I got a picture of my son, like when he was 4, and it was of his own choice. I'm not forcing him. And he was in one of my daughter's Snow White. She had like a Snow White dress up, like Disney princess thing. And he helped himself to it, and he just came down in it, like this kind of Snow White dress. Good on you, mate. 4 years old. Express yourself.
Oh, I mean, these days they give him special treatment, and
exactly.
To get his own room and everything. So I'm intrigued because obviously You're Not Suffering Fools is a thing that started early. Would you like that at school as well? Can you remember being at school?
Yeah. I mean, look, you know, I was funny, but I was probably obnoxious as well. You're still obnoxious, Clive. Shut up in the corner. You know, so like, I think, but I've learned in a way that, and this is which just adds to the amusement, really, is that, you know, you can sort of be. I like to sort of be arrogant, yourself up a bit, and so I do it in a jokey way. And then when people accuse me of being, he's very arrogant, he's condescending, it's like, yep, well done. You know, I said in a condescending way. You haven't got the joke, so well done because you made me laugh, sort of thing, you know. Yeah. Whereas people who get it, and then people go, but, you know, if I don't get it, you're telling me stupid. And it's like, well, you make up your own mind. But... But you know what I mean? So you can get away with it a bit, you know, and I kind of recognise it. But when I was a teenager, there was less humour to it. You know, I was probably
It was just blatant.
Was more of them. Yeah. I remember, you know, watching, you know, the In-Betweeners.
Yes.
You know, when Willie first goes to the new school.
Yeah, and he thinks he should be at a private school.
Yeah, and he's got that was me.
Yeah. Oh, really? Did you have the briefcase?
Yeah, I had a raincoat and a briefcase.
Well, you know what, mate?
Like an old detective raincoat, you know, one of those, detective raincoats, and a briefcase. And I went to sixth form like that.
Well, you see, I did as well.
From my high school.
Yeah.
Because the high school didn't have a sixth form. Well, my high school, where everyone was casuals. You know, tracksuit tops and floppy hair and Tachini tracksuit tops and things like that. Casuals.
See, I went age 12 with my briefcase, and that was the worst thing I could possibly have done.
Yes.
But that's funny. But then again, I mean, before that, when you first started school, did you find that you were selective with the people that you communicated with based on whether or not they met up to your intellectual standards?
But no, I mean that I wouldn't say that. When we were at school, we were streamed. Live streamed? Very weird. No. Academically streamed. And I failed my 12 plus, I think it was at the time. Which...
For grammar school?
Yeah, for grammar school. So I lived, back in the day, you used to do your 12 plus. And that was the kind of... At 12, it effectively determined your future. you know, to my father's disappointing, so I went to the dreaded high school, and I thought, oh my God. And the high school I went to had a real reputation for being quite rough. But it was an old reputation, and it since those days it had been taken over, and it had a slightly different perspective, but it didn't have a sixth form or anything like that. So, but I was in the top tier, and it meant that one of the options when you'd sort of finished is that you could then perhaps you get your GCSEs, or back then it was O levels and CSEs. You'd get to then, if you got the right ones, you could then go to sixth form at one of the one of the grammar schools, which is what I did. But here again is a slight difference. There were two choices, and one was a spin-off of rugby school, posh school, and it was set up by a very old headmaster from the posh school, and that was the grammar school, and it was a boys only. And the other was a sort of a mixed one, and everybody who went to sixth form from my school all went to the mixed one, because they thought the other grammar school that I wanted to go to was too posh.
Right.
But that's why I wanted to go to it. So I was the only one from my school who went to the slightly posher version. And I tell you what, I was out of my depth, because like their GCSEs, O-level things were just like glorified end of year exams.
Right.
Some of them had taken their O-levels the year before.
Wow.
Because they none of them were planned to leave school at 16.
No.
Because it was all about leaving after you'd done your A-levels. So they were all already ahead of me. I was the only one who wasn't already from the school, so I didn't know how things sort of worked. If you go to any new club or organization, there's a learning curve in terms of how you do things, So if you've already been at that school for 4 or 5 years, you know how things hang out, what the way things are. The teachers teach in a certain way, what they expect. But if you're brand new, it's like, and you already feel out your depth, it just feels completely alien to you, So I did feel a bit out my depth there, but I was always confident. But I just always felt a bit out my depth. So
you went to a school where you were top tier. You failed the grammar thing. We didn't actually have any grammar schools where I lived. So we didn't have any of that. We just went straight to the local comp. But you ended up at a school where everybody else probably was, maybe inferior to a degree. So that boosted your ego, and you were, known as one of the bright kids, to a school where they'd all passed that exam. They were all bright. They all knew it, I was not the bright kid. Right. So did that have an impact on your ego? Did it balance it out? Did it make you feel more humble? Or?
No. No, I'll tell you why. Because about that time, so I found a way out. So that helped. And
so you actually left that school then?
I did. Right, okay. I did. I left before it finished. There was an opportunity to leave. So what happened is that at the time, a bank, were doing the rounds of the grammar schools. Okay. To try and get sort of graduates from the schools, from A-level schools, from A-levels, sixth forms and stuff, to go on a sort of a trainee scheme to join the bank. And I just kind of thought, what's going to happen? I'm going to end up with like my A-levels with like a D's and E's and A-levels. Yeah. And the only job I'm going to be able to do is work in a bank.
Right.
So I might as well leave now and work in the bank. So I applied to the scheme and I got accepted, and I got the letter from the bank and saying, you've been accepted as part of the scheme, come and work at the bank. And I didn't go to school the next day. And then they rang up, and the school rang up and they said, where are you? And I said, "Oh, I've got a job. I'm not coming in."
Well,
And
you
they
had
said,
no
"I think you
legal
better come in and at
obligation.
least say goodbye to the headmaster."
Right.
So I thought, "Oh yeah, okay, put it like that."
I mean, legally, you'd finished school, so everything from that point on, what, 16, 17?
Yeah, it was legit. I mean, they came
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
school and they talked in assembly, like the bank.
Right.
So they were hoping people, they weren't waiting for people to finish their A levels. They were trying to get people who were doing their A levels
Yes.
to join. And to me, it just thought, yeah, I'm only going to end up failing my A levels, so I might as well just because also because when you pick your A levels,
Yeah.
well, here in the UK, as you know, like you have to pick your options.
Yes.
When you do your GCSE, so that's your basic high school diploma kind of thing, but you pick your subjects then. So at like 13 or 14,
Yeah, it's silly.
you have to decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
Do you want to do English? Do you want to do history, geography? Do you want to do languages?
Art.
You have to do English and maths, but then you choose the humanities. So do you do history? Do you do geography? Languages? Do you do French or computer studies? I don't know why they were together, but there you go. And I was quite a nerdy preteen. Yeah, I didn't read any fiction. I just read factual books.
Yeah.
Literally encyclopedias.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by science and astronomy and, and all those kind of things. So I just thought, yeah, you know what I want to be when I grow up? I want to be an astrophysicist,
Yeah.
No, really. In fact, actually, before that, do you know what? So maybe at 8 or 10, do you know what I wanted to be?
Go on.
At 8 or 10, again, this is a clue to my personality. At 8 or 10, I wanted to be a mad scientist.
Oh, right.
And build a doomsday machine and hold the world to ransom.
Wow. You weren't harboring
when people go, "I wanna
any
be a train
animosity to the
driver."
planet, were you?
Yeah. No, I just wanted power. I think like how
That's
people go.
interesting.
Yeah, like people go, "I want to be a train driver."
Yeah.
Or I want to be an astronaut or whatever. When you've no idea at that age, like how what you want to be a train driver. I want to be an astronaut. What do you want to be, Clive? I want to be a mad scientist who builds a doomsday machine and holds the world to ransom. Like Miss Dr. Evil. That's what I want.
But where did that come from?
I don't know. With some level experience of being bullied,
Yeah.
and it happened to me, but it was short-lived. I think my sisters went and beat him up, but my sisters met him after school and threatened them.
Well, that's why it's brilliant to have older sisters.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and
amazing.
I remember these other kids that bullied me. They used to bully me and this other kid. This is a primary school.
Yeah.
Bully me and this other kid, and then me and this other kid just gone to the loo. And then they came in, and we were sort of trapped, so we had no choice, and we beat them up.
Do you know the funny thing is as well when you look back at that?
No, because we had no choice to fight.
Yeah, it was your backs against the wall.
And they were living off the kind of the fear of them.
Yes, they had a name.
And of course, we wouldn't necessarily challenge them, but they were like, put us in a corner. We responded, and then we thought, before we knew it, they were crying on the floor, and we thought, bloody hell.
But the joke is that
why
when
were we scared? Why were we scared of them?
Yeah, and now and in your head, and then of course, these were peers, so they were ginormous, huge potential problems. But when as an adult looking back, you're talking about 6-year-old kids. They were,
we were like 9 or 10 at the time, I think.
Right, okay.
Although, lesson to the wise, one of them, when he was 18, 19, went to jail for killing a taxi driver. So,
Yeah. And he would have been fine if he hadn't have harboured the resentment of being beaten up in the toilets. Yeah. By this mad scientist.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, exactly.
So it's interesting because you basically went to this school which had the potential to, it looked good on the old CV and had some credibility to it. Of course, a bank comes along, and it doesn't matter that you're only there for a little while. The fact is you were there. Therefore, you were fully in their gaze of the kind of staff member they'd like to have on, which you leveraged very cleverly, ended up working there. Was that a conscious thing? Did you think, oh yeah, here I am. I can dive out now and not have to go through all the pain?
Yeah,
of,
it was. It
yeah.
literally was. It was like the sort of job you get if you don't do very well in your A levels.
Yeah.
Is you end up working in the local bank. That was how I saw it. And ironically enough, both my sisters worked in the bank.
Oh, but
same
that
bank? Wasn't. No, they worked. They worked at Barclays. Weirdly enough, they both worked at Barclays. They hated each other. They hated each other then.
Yeah.
It just coincidence. One worked in Barclays in London, and the other one worked in Barclays in the local town. And that was just purely coincidence. It wasn't. It didn't come into my thinking. It was just my thinking was, here's an escape from the A levels, because basically the ones I picked.
Yeah.
What? Because I was saying about, so you pick your options at 13 or 14, which dictate which O levels you took, which then would dictate which A levels you took. And what I didn't realise is, like, I just assumed I was a physics and a science genius.
Yeah.
So I didn't bother trying because I knew it all.
Yes.
But I didn't know it all, did I? But I just, because I knew it, like I knew I was actually good at later, like by the time I got to 16, when you're doing your O levels and stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't good at when I was 13 or 14.
So
what I ended up being good at is discovering I had a talent for drama. Well, performing, not drama, put it that way. Yeah, I've always been a performer. I've had two sisters I could perform to, and crack up at the dinner table, and all that kind of stuff. And my dad always was fast gags, quick wit, and so I grew into that really quick. You got respond. That's what me. I taught you quicker, get to a joke really quickly, find a funny angle to it quickly. I've always did when I grew up in that.
You've left my fire team, Clive. We'll let this. At this point, I edit and bring him back in. Where have you gone, Clivey baby? Let's see now. You saw the Y, didn't you? And you thought, right, I'm going to press that button because it's there to be pressed, and then you were gone.
Yes, I did. Sorry.
That's all good. I think we got to. Go on.
Yeah, so I was rubbish at English, failed my mock, and then within a year to 2 years of the mock, passed my O levels, and won English and won the school English prize.
There you go.
So from joining high school and being more interested in science and maths, I ended up leaving it, suddenly discovering a passion for sort of drama and English. But it was too late. I'd already chosen.
You set your path.
Yeah, and so that's why when I went to sixth form to do my A levels, I picked maths, physics, and economics. Completely, which is what I'd sort of had in mind at 12, 13, maybe not the economics, but maths and physics, 12 and 13. But it ended up, my strengths during high school ended up being English. Yeah, I'm good at maths and all that kind of stuff. But it ended up being English and drama.
So you got this.
So that's why I struggled. That's why I struggled at sixth form, I think, in my A levels. And I just found when an opportunity to get out came along, without failing, I grabbed it.
Yeah. So you thought you were left-brained. You then found actually you had an acute right brain as well, and it's unusual for someone to have both, fairly well balanced. And then, of course, the right brain stuff's always more fun anyway, particularly if you get that hit of dopamine from people laughing at your jokes and stuff, drama and so on. And so your education didn't stop there. So at what point did you say, actually, you know what, this bank ain't for me either?
Yeah, well then, so I used the bank as a way to escape the prospect of failing Yeah,
That's
I was
interesting.
going to be doing
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
you know. And then after about 18 months at the bank, I just remember sitting there. So I used to, you know, I was a bank teller. Yeah.
Yeah, soul destroying.
Yeah, no, I mean, I used to make, you know, like, you have fun with my you know, because there was like, I remember there was a girl who was also on the training scheme, you know, joined at the same time as me, and I used to sit next to each other when we were on the bank telling, you know, doing our bank telling bit, you know, serving the customers, and occasionally if the bank was quiet and nobody was there, I used to open my drawer full of money. So all the money, it was like, you know, thousands of pounds in there. And I used to look at her, across her, and I go, I see you're 500. I'll raise you 1,000. And then, but with real money, and I used to move it across the desk. And she go, I see you're 1,000. I'll raise you 2,000.
Oh,
Okay. And then somebody would come in, so we'd grab back all our money and then put it back in the drawers and go, yes, can I help you, madam? You know, so we used to like just do silly things like that and just keep ourselves entertained.
It's like an episode of The Office.
Yeah, it was like that. It was like, you know, it was exactly like, how do you keep yourself entertained, you know?
Yeah.
I remember actually one time when one of the banks in town ran out of money. Like, you have to, as a bank, you always have to keep a certain amount of money in your safe. For some reason, I can't remember now why. Anyway, this bank ran out of money, like NatWest or whatever it was, in the town I worked. And so they rang round to the other banks and said, "We run out of money. Can we have some money, please?"
Seriously?
Yeah. So the assistant bank manager, we had to go down to the safe, the underground safe, right? And that in the underground safe back then, you'd have like £500,000, £1 million,
Right. Which
something
would be
like
millions,
that, crazy like
millions today. I mean, it'd be fine.
Yeah. But back then, it would be like half a million in cash, just something like that. And you know, I think they only needed like 50 grand or something like that, but they needed it in cash. So the assistant bank manager, you know, had to take the money across personally with in a suit in a briefcase with caps, handcuffed. Handcuffed to his wrist, and he had to be accompanied by another member of staff, which is me. And he said, "Come on," and we walked through the streets of town with a briefcase full of however much it was, you know. Is this it? In 10 years' time, am I going to have my, you know, 2.4 kids and a 1.8 Cavalier estate kind of thing?
Yeah.
Or was it 1.8 kids and a 2.4 Cavalier estate? I can never remember which order it is. But
either or.
you know, it was that like, is this it? And I just thought, what the hell am I doing? I want to be, you know, at the time I was writing comedy.
Okay.
And performing comedy at the local theatre where I lived.
As a stand-up, or as a play?
As character sketches.
Okay.
You know, they had an open night one day at our theatre. So I was a member of the local theatre, Amateur Dramatic Society. It had the biggest theatre amateur theatre outside London.
Oh wow.
It was a proper proscenium arch theatre and everything. It was good. So I was in quite a few productions. And then they had an open night, and I had a friend there at the time. It was a bit nerdy, and so I used to do impressions of him, just exaggerated. And he said, "You should do that." So I just went on stage as him, like his name was Paul Kilby. So Paul, his name was Paul Interesting Kilby. Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Interesting Kilby. You might like to know I've just been down the train station and I spotted the locomotive 543621 coming in on the platform 5. As many of you will already know, that particular locomotive was built by so-and-so. Just like that sort of real nerdy thing. And people loved it. And then,
so how old were you at this point then, Clive?
16, 17, something like that.
So 16, 17, you've got the courage, the confidence to...
Yeah, I was always confident.
Okay. That's always been a thing, even when you were younger.
Yeah. I've always been confident to perform, get up on stage.
Okay.
Which is like, helps with so many things. People go, I hate public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I love it. But I know, that's what it's an advantage, because for most people they hate it.
Yes.
And
were your
takes
parents
energy. It takes
involved?
emotional. It draws on emotional energy, but I still like it.
As a child, were your parents involved in anything that involved?
No.
No.
My dad was confident. But my mum was completely opposite. She's very shy.
Yeah.
But my dad was a confident guy, and a social being.
And they would encourage you, sort of,
but at the dinner
stage
table,
Butlins and all that stuff.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, my dad. What my dad used to love doing is entering the kids into fancy dress. More my sisters, because as they got a bit older, we went on slightly different holidays. But yeah, we used to go to the the Butlins type thing.
Yeah.
And because he'd been the year before, he used to bring his materials and costumes to dress him up. He used to love winning the fancy dress competitions.
So that's interesting. So maybe that's a.
And then I'd go on as the cute little kid.
Yeah. Well, you were never going to fail.
But it was more at the dinner table. It was more around the dinner table that you realise, actually, I think I'm quite funny. I'll get a good response. And at school, being the sort of class clown, as well.
Yes.
The witty clown rather than the silly clown,
What I think comes across, and fun enough, I absolutely share these traits, is that you've established early what you can win at, and what know you're going to struggle to win at, and you're focused on what you can win at, rather than do the no, you can do anything if you put your mind to it, but then you can't. So focus on what you can do.
Exactly. Know what you're good at. I'll tell you the other things I respect. So I highly respect people who can do things, who are really good at stuff.
Yeah.
That I'm not. That's what impresses me. If you can do something, I think, wow, that's amazing. I wish I could do that. That's whether it's an actor, actress, whatever,
sure.
who is really good. I just wow, or just some talent, whatever. You just think, God, I wish I could do that. So I know what I'm good at. And there's no harm in knowing what you're good at. I don't consider it arrogance, because you've got to be realistic about it. But you've got to, but also equally recognize what you're good at, but also recognize what you're not good at.
Of course, yeah.
And so it cuts both ways.
And your dad, you must have.
Knick knack paddywhack, give the dog a bone.
Okay.
When I was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Nick with no teeth, no front teeth.
Yeah.
Knick knack paddywhack, give the dog a bone. This old man is coming home. That kind of thing, Still remember it. And I kind of missed one of the lines or something, got it wrong. But everybody was like, oh, really cute. Oh.
But that's a form of winning, and obviously you take that forward, and subconsciously I can sing and get the lines wrong and do it cutely, and doesn't matter. What I get from that is approval, and that dopamine fix, which you then you've kept that there for right up into. So you've essentially
when you're at school, right, and you make people laugh, no, you hear it all the time, or down the pub or whatever it is, and you make people laugh, right, and then you have an opportunity, and you think, I wonder if I can translate that to people who don't know me, and and I had an opportunity at say Amateur Dramatic Society to Amdram to do that, and if you make people laugh, you get an instant response.
Yes.
Right? So if you don't, it's horrible. Yeah? It's been there. Don't worry about that. It's if you die on your ass, it's horrible.
It's painful.
It's hideous. And that's what put me off doing proper stand-up.
Yeah.
The fear of dying on my ass. I tried it very, 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 very briefly, at Edinburgh once.
Did you?
Not proper. It was more like I was trying to promote a show, which I'll come to later. But yeah. So when I did these little sketches, because my mate said, "Why don't you do sketch at the open mic thing?" So I did, and people loved it, and they were coming up to you going, "Mate, you're the best. That was the best thing." And I was like, it was hilarious, and oh my god, and all this kind of stuff. People of different ages as well, and peers, and I was thinking, okay. So then my mate, who we had a similar sort of sense of humor, said we should write some stuff. So we So we did.
Was this interesting, Paul, or was this somebody else?
This is interesting, Paul. He encouraged me. He encouraged me.
Yeah.
So, and he loved it as well. So we wrote stuff together, some sketches and silly stuff. And then we thought, we should start like a kind of theatre and education group, and travel to schools and do, performances, but make them funny. Hey kids, don't just say no to drugs, kind of thing, but make it funny rather than the earnest bollocks that. In fact, we did that classic. We I can't remember what it was, but we entered a competition. I think it was a school sort of competition, or it was a youth theatre competition, from a county level, whatever.
Yeah.
And there were theatre groups and all this kind of stuff that were there, and youth groups and all that there. And then there was just me and my mate. So we weren't like a proper organisation. We weren't a youth group or a theatre group. We were just him and me. And we saw this guy's a crappy teacher trying to be cool with the kids.
Right.
And then they got the joke, but it worked perfectly because we were in an environment where it was full of sixth form theatre groups and youth groups.
Yes.
So us pretending to be like doing a parody of a theatre and education group trying to teach, and the sort of the classic, is the he's my sidekick and he gets everything wrong. And we end up messing everything up, and it's terribly embarrassing. We're trying to teach about inclusion here, and then we end up doing the completely wrong thing. Or we're trying to teach kids not to take drugs, and you end up encouraging them to take drugs. It's that kind of kind of just turning it on its head and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So we did that, and that went down really well.
But was this the sort of era?
Kind of got me realizing. Sorry. Yeah. So when I was, so this is all at the time I was at the bank.
Right.
And it was then that it just got me realizing. Am I wasting my life at the bank? Am I going to, as I say, cut to 10 years time, and I'm just sitting in a semi-detached house with two kids and an estate, and working at the trying to become the assistant bank manager, like some bad British sitcom, Like I thought, is that my life? Is that it? And I thought I'll never know whether I could sit as a writer or, I wanted to, at the time I wanted to write, comedy and perform comedy and all that kind of stuff. So I just quit. I remember talking to an old drama teacher from school, and I said, I'm thinking of quitting, and if it all goes wrong, I'll teach. I'll go to drama school, and if it all goes wrong, I'll just teach drama. And he went, okay, yeah, but you'll need your A levels if you want to teach drama, because you have to go to sort of teaching school. So at least if you're going to do drama, at least do A levels with your drama,
right?
And then it will give you the options. So I left the bank, and then I went to audition at drama school at like 16, 17, and I went to audition at RADA.
Wow.
Which is the elite drama school. You name all the English actors who are in in American TV series,
yes,
Marvel movies, Tom Hiddleston, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
they all went to RADA.
Was it Royal Academy for Dramatic Arts?
Tough.
Is that?
Yes, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, and the other one was LAMDA, which was the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts, and the Central School of Speech and Drama. And I was unsuccessful in all those. Probably a bit young, I think. 16, 17. I didn't think I probably wasn't quite worldly or wise enough in terms of and I certainly wasn't good enough acting wise. So I didn't get in. But then I auditioned for like more locally the drama school. And there was a drama school in Coventry. And I went for that and I got in, but then they'd take a bloody chair. I'm not sure this even though they accepted me, I'm thinking I'm not sure this school has that much credibility. It looks like they're going to take anybody.
Yeah.
Because this guy was awful. and they took him. And then,
Poor
so
old
then
Tom
my drama
Hardy, he's
teacher
done
said,
well since.
yeah, Tom Hardy's done marvellous. And then so then the drama teacher I met said, oh, you should do your A-levels. There's a course at Stratford-upon-Avon where you do you do drama, you do A-levels with drama with A-levels. And it was about a week. Yeah, exactly. It was about a week before the course started. And so I rang them up. And they said, well, we've taken all, like we're starting in a week. You're meant to come and interviews and stuff like in July. And this is now September, whatever. I said, well, can you just fit me in? And they said, okay, come, can you come like tomorrow or whatever? So I went along and I got an interview and then they said, yeah, okay. And so I did. So I started my A-levels again, but this time doing drama, English literature. Yeah. So doing theatre studies, basically, English literature and communication studies. And this so completely different to maths, physics. Yeah, completely different from maths, physics and economic.
That's interesting. And how well did that?
And then at that point as well, at that point as well, the concept. So all this time seems weird now to say, but the concept of university never really crossed my mind. But then, because none of my family went to university. My sister was the first person to go to sixth form.
Yeah.
And my other sister didn't. She left at 16. And my sister that did go to sixth form, left with a 1 A level in art. And my dad was super proud.
That's all I got.
Was the most, but my dad was super, because that's the best anybody, because he never went to university. So it was the best anybody had ever done.
Yeah.
So of course, be super proud. But then, so he was equally disappointed, as I found out years later, and when I left the grammar school, when I left my A-levels, he never told me, but my sister, I take what she says with a pinch of salt, but my sister many years later said, oh, yeah, Daddy was, she never Daddy, but the father was very disappointed when you left.
Which is understandable, but the important thing is he didn't convey that to you. He wanted me to be an accountant.
He wanted me to be an accountant, like really boring.
No, I mean, I don't think, who wouldn't be as a father, but the point is he didn't convey that to you.
No, he didn't convey it. I think that was important, though. He didn't convey it. No. This is my sister being a busybody. This is the same sister that when I was about 16 or 17, don't ask me why, but my mum asked my sister, is Clive, Clive, is he gay? Right, and the correct answer at the time would have been no, he's not gay, Mum. Yeah. But my sister said, okay, oh my god, right? What's it matter what he is? Like if he wants to be gay, he can be gay, Mother. I can't believe you're asking it, kind of thing. And she told me this, and I'm thinking, okay, right on, sister, but actually, just a simple no, because that's the truth.
That's the honest answer. Yes.
Like I don't have an issue with it, but I'm not. So you could have just said that,
secretly she would have loved you to have been gay, because it would have given her a cause.
Well, my sister, because she was in that rebel stage. She would have been going, yeah, he is, Mum, and what are you going to do about it? Yeah, in your face, parent.
Brilliant. But when you were turned down for RADA and Lambda and all the other institutions, did that in any way, shape or form taint your thoughts, or were you still thinking, no, I'm absolutely bulletproof, and it's their loss, not mine?
No, because I never thought I was bulletproof. Yeah, RADA's loss. It was RADA's loss. Oh, I don't know what they're giving away. No, I mean, I think I was realistic. I probably, because I wasn't, like it's know when you're good and know when you're not good.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm brutally honest with myself, I wasn't good enough. And obviously I was disappointed. You hope, don't you? It's like winning the pools or the lottery.
Sure.
You hope you're going to win it. You hope, like a job interview, you hope you're going to get it. When you've done well, but even then there's no guarantee you're going to get the job, depending who you're up against, so many factors. So I sort of just kept trying, and also, it's like professional football or something,
mm-hmm.
like how many kids who go to an academy you know, and even, you know, I neither qualified on the kind of super working class option from a diversity point of view, yeah, or was a public school boy. I always I used to say that I was like, because my father aspired to be middle class.
Sure.
But I don't think we were quite middle class enough.
No.
And so we were sort of halfway between working class and middle class, so what I call a grey class, like a bank clerk class, you know.
Yes.
Like you're kind of in between, and so it's a bit useless really in terms of quotas and diverse, you know, things like that, because you don't have the advantage of being super posh or from a privileged background or middle class or having the money and freedom. Because if you want to go to drama school and stuff, it costs money as well. Who's going to pay for you, especially to go and live in London and all that kind of stuff? Who's going to pay for that? You know, unless you can get a super grant. But in order to do that, you need to, you know, become pretty poor background or something like that, and you can get a decent grant and things like that. But I was neither that. So I was sort of that boring grey class, a horrible, you know, and a sort of the sort of middle of nowhere class, you know. So I kind of knew that it was pretty difficult to get into drama school, and so I was sort of satisfied that I sort of got into one, even though it's a local one and wasn't very good. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't the one I opted for. I was so glad, obviously, in retrospect, that my drama teacher I just met in the theatre bar, and mentioned it to him, and he said about if you want to be a teacher, a drama teacher as a sort of fallback option, you need A levels, and he suggested Stratford-upon-Avon, and if I hadn't met him then, I wouldn't have necessarily gone. I wouldn't have known about it. And so literally a week later, I was actually starting my A levels at Stratford-upon-Avon, and it was great.
And I mean, the association with Shakespeare, and those of us that are listening, that
we used to go to the RSC, the Royal Shakespeare Company, see plays on a regular basis. So it was great. I was such, you know, because, you know, and also, you know, studying English obviously was and theatre studies give you a reason to do it. But you know, like there's not, you know, you're not. It's the Royal Shakespeare Company. Yeah, it doesn't really get better in terms of Shakespeare. You know,
no, it's the best.
Yeah, so it was just really great to have an opportunity.
So you got your A levels, and obviously we're doing, you know, drama, etc. at the same time, and then you mentioned university that nobody in the family had been, but presumably you were the first one. Yeah. What was where did you go? What did you study? How did that connect with what you'd been studying?
So I sort of initially when I was at college, I was thinking, I want to write, and in a way more write and direct and produce. Sometimes me in it, sometimes me not in it. And in fact, I wrote a play. I'm trying to think. Yeah, so when I left the bank, it was a bit 12 to 18 months, I think, or of something like that, a few months. And during that time, because I've been writing these little skits with my mate, I decided I'd write a play, a comedy play, and I wrote that sort of in between. Well, I was unemployed basically when I left the bank for a period of time. I had my UB40, as they say, you know, in Stratford. We had a chance to take a play as the college to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and we were trying to make up our mind what play we would take, you know, an existing play we would do. And I said, I've written a play. And people going, no, we're going to do a proper play. And I said, well, it is a proper play. What are you talking about? I've written a play. And they said, no, like a play by a proper playwright kind of play. And I said, but how do you know my play's not good? No, well, because you wrote it. And it's like, well, what do you mean? Like, I said, look, I will print off copies, and you lot read it. And if you don't want to do it, fine. But read it.
Yeah, don't write it off before you've seen it.
Yeah, at least read it, give me a chance. So I gave everybody a copy, and the next day people going, this is brilliant, this is really funny, we want to do it, we've got to do it. And so I went, okay. And so we did it at the college, in front of all, you know, the rest of the college and the parents and all that kind of stuff. And I, you know, directed it and all that kind of stuff. And then we took that to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so again, on my CV, you know, it says wrote play, directed and produced it at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And for that, like, the American people, you know, listening who aren't aware, the Edinburgh Festival is the biggest European theatre and culture festival in Europe, hence the biggest in Europe, effectively. And a lot of stand-up comedians, you know, go there anyway. You know, it's become very super commercialized. But also, if you know, win an award there and things like that, you know, it can lead to TV and all that kind of stuff. So, so it sounds quite good on the old CV. The reality is, it is so competitive. You've got everybody putting on plays, performances, juggling, unicycles, performing in the street, performing in church halls. It's, you know, from plays from 9 o'clock in the morning to, you know, 10 at night after hours, just everything. And the competition to get people to come and see you is crazy. And you literally sometimes you are, you know, the old one man and his dog. That's literal, not figuratively, literal. Like a man and his dog who's come out to get out of the rain has come into
the audience.
The church hall where you happens to be your venue, and watched your play. But everybody, you know, struggles on diligently, does the play to their best ability, even though there may be like 4 or 5 people in the audience. You know, you do what you can. And the thing is, being at Edinburgh Fringe Festival, every performance is reviewed. Usually in the and again, it kind of sums me up. One hated it, right? One hated it, right? And I'll remember what they said, because in a way I found it quite complimentary. One thought, yeah, it was all right. There's some potential. There's some interesting things here. And another one thought, oh, it was absolutely hilarious.
Right.
So it was like, okay, and I kind of realized that you can't please all the people.
Yes.
All the time.
Yes.
And secondly, I don't want to please. I don't want stuff that I do, oddly enough, to please all the people all the time, because it means, in my mind, and this is just my view, my own personal view, it means that what you may have something which is mediocre, middle of the road. You know, do I want to be Michael McIntyre? I love Michael McIntyre, but do I want to be Michael McIntyre? Or do I want to be Stuart Lee?
Okay.
Comedian. Yeah? I want to be Stuart Lee. I want to be the comedian the comedians really love and think, wow, that is brilliant, that's clever, intelligent. But some people, like, you know, think he's complete and utter see you next Tuesday or an arrogant git or whatever, and they don't get it. Yeah? He's loved by loads, he's hated by loads. But he is considered a master craftsman when it comes to stand-up comedy. So it's like that. It's like I'd rather be a bit like an indie band. Yeah.
No, I totally get that.
I want to be
I
liked.
Totally get that. Yeah.
But I don't want to be making middle of the road music.
Yeah. Did you? I'm trying to think if Lee and Perrin were around at that point. I think Stuart Lee is kind of our age, and
yeah, in the 80s, he was doing stuff in the 80s. Like there's Fist of Fun on BBC Two.
Yes,
I remember.
Yes, no, there's he's an interesting character. I mean, did you consciously model yourself at that time on anybody, like say, like the Paul Metcalf character, for example?
Yeah, I was always modeling myself on as you know, through my teens on whatever was current. I would pick up trends, and so I always remember, like, you know, I used to do like Rick Mail type.
Yeah, the young ones.
Character. It's like now, like you see, like everybody does it like a sort of a David Brent style thing. You know, just like characteristics and stuff like that, like just comedies, and goes through sort of styles, doesn't it, and things like that. So you sort of pick up, and then as you grow old, you pick up on little things here and there, and then you just put it in your little tool bag, don't you, of little ideas.
But it's all part and parcel of what shapes what the next stage is, isn't it? That's the point.
Yeah.
And I think what's been interesting so far is, we've been able to tie up the next stage in your life to things that happened previously, sometimes many years before. That takes you down that road. So and this is fascinating to hear that they've put on this play, that it's in a nice way mixed reviews, because actually that's kind of what you like. It's
the woman, the person. I say woman. It sounds like I'm being misogynist, but it was a woman, and I remember it. Women aren't funny.
Women for life.
I think in the review they said, "Oh my God, this play's obnoxious." Imagine if you got all the smart asses in the pub together and asked them to write a play. That's what it is.
Well, that's fairly damning.
No, I thought, well, yeah, that is what it is. It's like
she's saying it's pretentious, though. I mean, she's saying
not smart ass as in intelligent, but smart as in all the guys who think they're funny in the pub.
Right. Okay.
So, but to me, when you're down in the pub with your mates, like or a show that you might do with everybody, and everyone's having a bit of banter, and coming up with jokes and gags. She said what she's basically saying is imagine it's basically all the people who sit in a pub making up jokes, but like funneled into one person. And she obviously hated that concept of people, like banter, down the pub, that kind of thing.
It's difficult with critiques, isn't it? Because obviously it's opinions. It's very rarely objective.
It's fine.
Yeah,
but but the point is, again, it's like I get it, because in a way it is. It's like, because it's me being like a smart aleck. Trying to come up with silly gags or something like that. 17, 18, I think.
See, you're still very young. Now, I know I would have taken that to heart at that age. But what's interesting to me is that you've...
The thing is, you see, the play, because I'd because I'd performed it at college.
Yeah.
And people loved it.
Yeah.
And I know that, because people laugh. Laughing is a guttural human response.
Sure.
A collective. You're not telling me that 80 people, 100 people every night for 3 or 4 nights all faked their laughter.
Sure.
It's a guttural response. And so I'd performed the play, so I knew it. It didn't perform to deathly silence.
No.
So
it was simply.
So I knew it worked.
Yeah.
So I knew. So and I remember once having she was sort of throwing witticisms back at me, and we're having this.
You're raising her 1,000, and she was raising you 2,000.
Yeah. We were being quite mean to each other and stuff like that. And but I remember her saying, I said something, a little bit funny, and she went, "Yeah, very funny, Clive. I bet you have them rolling in the aisles." And this was like a few weeks after I'd done the play. Ironically enough, she'd been in it, and I went, yeah, I have had them rolling in the aisles, like literally 2 weeks ago. So it was like, I always remember that, just thinking, I have had them rolling in the aisles. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. That's amazing. Obviously, very few people ever get the opportunity to have a play that they've written put on at that age as well.
It wasn't great, but on CV, when you tell it out loud or you're telling to a third party, it sounds very impressive and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and whether it was it
was a lot less glamorous than it actually sounds, but hey, it's got a story to tell.
Absolutely. So was that was that it in terms of your stage?
Like a director, direct films or something like that. I was getting into films, so I went to university to study film and drama. Because then you had the option of what you wanted to specialize in, and you could either specialize in the drama side, or specialize in film side. And obviously, so once I'd started that, I graduated. I leaned more and more towards film, and it was film criticism rather than making film. Yeah, you learn how to make films, but only from the point of view of understanding from a film critic perspective how films work and what directors are saying and why and the mechanics behind it to understand the importance of that and the history of film and the history of filmmaking. But it wasn't National Film School type thing. It was
No.
it was studying film criticism.
And that was that's the degree that you took?
Yeah.
And how did that go for you?
Yeah, it went very well. I graduated, I got a 2-1. You've got to avoid the Desmond. The
2-2.
Yeah, you got to avoid the Desmond 2-2. Or the Richard. Got to avoid the Richard.
Very
third.
good.
Richard the third. You don't want a third.
You
don't want a first because that looks like you're a swat.
Yes.
You want a 2-1.
Yes.
I always have a habit of retrospectively justifying what I've done or achieved.
I've noticed.
Yeah. I wouldn't want a first anyway because that makes you look like a swat.
I say
but
I
I'm
noticed.
happy with a 2-1.
I need to qualify that. And when I noticed it was when you said that you didn't make it in to the various schools, but it was okay because actually that wasn't necessarily the way you wanted to go, and it was quite good because you wouldn't have been good enough. And there's that kind of Yeah, no, that's not a problem. Psychologically, it's a great way to deal with stuff. And what's fascinating for me is how you've been building up this armor, which has actually given you the capability to be super confident and do things that most of us wouldn't have had the balls to do.
Do it, but it's like I have to turn it on, I have to. It's not natural, and that's fine. And once I'm in there, I'm fine. So it's not like it's a different level of confidence. It's a very specific confidence about knowing what you think you're okay at and what you're not. Yeah. And you've got, and it's evidence based. I.e., if you perform something and you die on your ass, you think, oh my god, I don't want to ever do that again. I'm not very good at that. No. Which is why I never did like full on stand up, because it's like it was just the risk of failure was too high, and I'm a coward in that regard. I mean, I did, as I say, when I was in Edinburgh, we think we need to drum up some more support. So why don't we perform a bit of the play at some kind of a cafe, lunchtime cafe in Edinburgh. So I took a couple of the actors, and we went to dinner. I thought, well, I'll do a bit of intro and a bit of stand-up, beforehand. And I hadn't really prepared anything, which is obviously a massive mistake. And so I just thought, I'll just do it, how I normally do it, so I'm with my mates and all that kind of stuff. And the audience don't know you from Jim. They just think, who's this dick coming up? Excuse my French. Yeah, exactly. From them, because we're just doing this cold to people who weren't even bothered about being in there to see a performance, because they'd come to get a bloody muffin and a coffee or whatever. So that, it's like, oh my God, that's difficult. I have a lot of admiration for, say a stand-up comedian. You've got to die on your ass. You've got to do it. And it's part and parcel of that thing if you want to choose to do it. And I'm a coward. I can't be doing with that.
No, absolutely. I'm exactly the same. I mean, everything you've just said struck a chord with me in exactly the same way. The reason I do the stuff with other people is because the fear of doing it on your own and not getting a laugh, or people not enjoying it.
That's the irony, is the beauty. So the beauty for me, though, live streaming is I'm not dependent on the audience response, the instant audience response.
Yes, that's interesting.
Yeah. But I like what I do. So if you like what you do, if you think you're funny, right? You don't have any evidence to sort of prove. It's like a bad singer on X Factor, yeah.
Yeah.
You need to have done it before, like in a live environment, to know that actually I am good at singing or whatever it is.
Sure. Sure.
No, because I've done it before, and so I over the years I've grown, and people have come up to me and said things. I know if I think it's funny or entertaining,
yes,
there are probably people who will also think it, because because I've done it before, sort of thing. So doing it, and I'm a bit older now, so when you're doing live stream, you know, your response is afterwards, really. Like how many people have watched it, or are people saying performance of some sort? You know, even if you're delivering information or facts or whatever, or a viewpoint or an opinion, it's about, to me, it's about delivering that in an entertaining way. Can you deliver your message, whatever it is, you know, like a joke, like, you know, inform, educate, entertain.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, I say it in a jokey way, but so I use it as a sort of raison d'etre for, say, the Stadia Monday Night Chat. Like, that, you need a reason, you know, what's your motivation? And so over time, I've kind of sort of developed that thing. Okay, this is the motivation for the Stadia Monday Night Chat. I want to inform, I want to educate, in my view. Call that pretentious and arrogant, but in my, you know, I consider it some form of education. And
yeah, but it's the way, is it?
But yeah, and that's where it comes from, obviously, where I work. But it's that Reithian, Lord Reith's, you know, inform, educate, and I've nicked it. Of course, I nicked it, but I think, you know, it's a good, it's a good sort of
mantra.
Good mantra. Exactly, that's what it is, a mantra. So,
do you know, the interesting thing, Clive, which I'd not thought of before, actually, and in a way, it must apply to us all. So when you're putting on your play, you're essentially, although of course you're writing something that you think is funny, but equally, you know,
you don't know, do you? You just think,
you don't know. You've got to put it out to the test,
and you've got to translate it into some sort of performance that gets across what you've written.
Exactly. So you're ultimately writing something that has to be for an audience. Now, when you're doing the streaming and you're doing it for yourself, you build an audience around that. So it's like, okay, this is what I have to offer. If you like it, watch me. If you don't, go away.
Exactly.
And it's, you know, and that's the difference between, here's a play, I desperately would love you to come because it's the only way it's going to get justified financially. Here's me doing my thing. If you like me, I build an audience. If you don't, well, I like it.
It's like, so it's like, you know, like I always be envious that, you know, if you say, look at the stand-up, the hardest thing with stand-up comedian is when they don't know you, and you're trying to make it. When they know you, when people then are coming to the theatre to see you, right? They're already ready. They already know your stuff. You know, they're ready to laugh because they like what you do. They've seen you on the telly, and they want to see you live. They want to see because they like what you do. So they're already in laugh mode. The most difficult thing is, is winning an audience who, I mean, hopefully the audience is there if they're at, say, a general comedy night. They're in a sort of, you know, entertain us kind of mood. But if they don't know you, you've got to win them over, haven't you, as a comedian? And that's, to me, I have the greatest admiration for people who can do that.
Absolutely. And it's worse than that, because a lot of these people they go to those events to actually, the fun is having a crack at the poor guy that's trying to make them laugh.
God, yeah.
You know, and that's actually their form of entertainment. Right. Gangs of
spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that can be soul destroying. But like you say, that's kind of the part of the journey. It's the journeyman of being a stand-up. You've got to go through that to thicken your hide and develop the skills to deter it and put it off.
And I think, you know, with live streaming, it's like the same. It's like if you get a consistent audience and or people keep coming back because they like what you do, then in a way that's enough. You know, it's like I always sometimes, you know, you get like I get, you know what, it's difficult. It's so hard to break through or get a decent audience, you know. And you look at someone like Sonny, you know, with 20,000 odd subscribers, he does his live show. He's cracked it. He's cracked the algorithm. He's cracked when it comes to Stadia content, you know, he's cracked that algorithm. And, you know, so if he does a live stream, you know, he'll have 200 people. A bit like, you know, Bill and Lloyd used to almost, you know, they were there first, they cracked the algorithm, they got it in the search feeds. And so it can be soul destroying. You're thinking, I'm doing really good stuff here, you know, in my mind, personally, and yet I'm not. You know, I'm not getting that kind of audience, you know. Oh my God, you know, it can be a bit soul destroying. But then I configured it. I thought, okay, well, how can I rationalize this? You know, and I just thought, if I had a weekly session down the pub, in a room, said to me, yeah, I'll give you a night. You've got your own, you know, your own spot above the pub, down the pub, every Friday night or whatever, or every Monday night. So to me, performing to like 30 to 50 people live every Monday, people that seem to like your stuff, because they must do, because it's an effort to turn up and watch somebody. You know, we're busy people. They could be watching, you know, a multi-million-pound Netflix series. That's who you're competing with. They could be playing a multi-million-pound game. So it requires a commitment for people to turn up. And if they make that commitment on a regular basis, and you sort of start building a little following, then, you know, you must be doing something right.
Now and if
you're happy with that, then that's cool, you know.
We've sort of jumped the gun a little bit, because we went straight from university to Monday night, as lovely as it is. So you've come out of university, you've got your degree in drama and film production.
Yeah.
What next?